We all want to achieve greatness in life, and we are studying from the theme of Moses' calling at the burning bush. And we are learning from his experiences that when Moses came to a place, came to a spiritual place, not a physical place. Yes, he came to a physical place as well at the mountain. But when he came to a spiritual place, when he said that I am able to turn aside from my responsibilities, I'm able to turn aside from my provision, from my securities, and from my day-to-day life. And I'm able to look at the Lord. Instead of looking at what my life is, I'm able to look at the Lord, because the Lord has called us for such a great task in this world. But if we keep looking to our day-to-day life, we are going to live a life of mediocrity. We are going to live a life where every day is the same. Where every day is a routine. We wake up, we maybe go to work or go to study or whatever we do, and the day ends and that's it. But the Lord has called us to live a miraculous life. The Lord has called us to live a life which is much greater than our own. The purpose of our life is much greater than our own lives, and God has called us for greatness. But we saw that in our previous videos, we do not achieve that because we do not say, Lord, here I am. When we come to that place where we say, so what is the next step? We were seeing from in the first video, we saw that our deeper purpose, our destiny is embedded deep in our own hearts. But the Lord has to break our ego, our pride. For Moses, it was 40 years in the desert, working with the sheep, communing with God, meditating on God. And then he came to that place, and we are in this spiritual journey with the Lord, where we are able to be in tune with the Lord and hear the Lord's voice for our lives, finding the deeper meaning of life in our own heart, which the Lord has, the purpose that the Lord has revealed to us, and then the Lord has to break us so that we will come to a place. And the Lord, honestly, I'm being very honest with you all. It took the Lord a lot to break me, for me to come to a place where I am saying to the Lord, Lord, here I am. Here I am. Many years. And I deeper inside, I knew from the age of 10, I knew. And maybe you are hiding it, but you know deeper inside that you are called for more than what is currently in your life. And to be able to understand that, we have to hear the voice of God and come to that place where finally we say, Lord, here I am. And when we come to that place, what is the next thing that the Lord says to Moses? Let's try to understand that. In verse 5, so we are in Exodus chapter 3 and verse 5. Then he said, God is saying to Moses, do not draw near this place. Do not draw near this place. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. The Lord is telling Moses to take off your shoes, because the land where you stand is what? Is holy ground. Do you know where the holy ground is? Do you know where the holy ground is? What do you think? Our heart, that's a spiritual sense. I'm talking about physical. Because he was on a physical ground, right? So I'm talking about the physical ground. Yeah?
Church.
Sorry? Church, no. God's presence, yes, that's a good one. Church is, if it's a church is a building, then no, that's not the holy ground. But the holy ground, this whole world is a holy ground. And I will explain to you what I mean by that, okay? So the whole, the place, every place that we are going to is a holy ground, but it's going to take a little bit of understanding to understand what that means. The Lord said, take off your shoes. Okay? And we want to understand the significance of shoes for Moses and for us as well. Why did the Lord tell Moses to take off his shoes? What is the significance of that? Now, once again, I'm going to ask you to put your thinking caps on and tell me, what is the purpose of shoes? Why do we wear shoes? Yes?
Filthiness, like when we are
Good one. Once again, loudly. To be detached from the filth of the world. Okay. Nice one, Arslan. Good job. To be detached from the filth of the world. Okay, good one. Okay, something else?
I was thinking like
Yeah.
the ground is usually like in the summer really hot, the ground.
Yes. Then what does it do? The shoes.
You burn your feet so you put
You burn. Okay. So the ground can burn your feet, or maybe there could be other dangerous things, right? Like pebbles. Yes. What else? Stones and glass, and we don't know. So what does the shoe do?
protect your feet.
So the shoes protect our feet. Okay, good one. Clap it for you. Come. Let the people see you in the video that how clever you are. Okay, good job. Give me a high five. Say hello to everyone. Come here. Say in the mic hello.
Hello.
See, this is a child of God. Okay, and we all have to be the children of God. Nice, good job. So now, the shoes protect us. The shoes keep away the filth. What else? What else does the shoe represent? In detaching us from the ground, the shoe, especially, some of the ladies like big heels, right? So, big heels. But normally a shoe will do what? A shoe will increase your height somewhat. Yeah? It will it will detach you from the ground, and you will be slightly on a higher plane. So thus the shoes here represent the ego of a person. The shoes here represent the pride of a person, and the Lord is saying, take off your shoes, keep your pride aside, and come and touch the ground. We also have a phrase in our language, zameen pe aaja, means come down to the ground. Yeah? Come. You are on a high horse. That's also a phrase. You're on a high horse, come down. So coming down represents, you see, it's saying, the Lord is saying, the next thing for us, when we are given the great task of our lives, when we are given the great purpose of our lives, the Lord had to break his pride.
Humility, right?
Yes, humility. The Lord had to teach him humility. Not that he was a person of a wrong heart. I'm not saying that. But he was, we all have our flaws. Every human being has his flaw. So the Lord said, to be able to, and you all know, Moses only did one mistake, right, in the wilderness. And what was it about? Wasn't the Lord warning him? I mean, I'm not taking that as a negative. I'm not taking that as a bad. I mean, he was under so much pressure. But that the Lord knows. You see, one time a person came to Jesus, he said, how can I enter into the kingdom of heaven? The Lord said, okay, this is what you need to do. And it was, the Lord sees our hearts. So he knew there is these issues, and he dealt with Moses, dealt with him. In fact, Moses has a nickname or has a name. What is it? He's called? What is he called? Huh? He's called humble. He's called a humble person. Because he had to. Why? Compared to himself, he is a humble. Because the journey he had to. You see, when you are a prince of Egypt, the superpower of the world, from that place to come down over here, it needs a lot of work. So the Lord is saying, where I am calling you to go. So then in that sense, when we humble ourselves, we are walking on holy ground. And when we don't humble ourselves, we are not walking on. So physically, everywhere we go, we can be walking on holy ground if we have changed our hearts, if we have heard the voice of God, if we are fulfilling the purpose of God in our lives, and we have humbled ourselves. Then we saw that the shoe is doing what? Is keeping our feet away from the filth. So the shoe is collecting the filth. And the Lord is saying, where I am calling you to go is a holy purpose, is a holy ground, and you have to leave your filth behind. You have to get rid of the weaknesses, you have to get rid of the sins, you have to get rid of the shortcomings in your life. You cannot do or you cannot fulfill the purpose that I have called you to fulfill with the filth that is in your life. And if we want to get rid of our own filth, if we want to get rid of our own shortcomings, if we want to get rid of our own inadequacies, if we want to get rid of what is not worthy in God's sight in our lives, and we want to do it with our own might, we will not be able to do it. We are not able to get rid of our own filth in our lives. We will not be able to do it. So how can we get rid of the filth from our lives? All we have to do is look at the Lord. And when the Lord calls out your name, Moses, or Alan, or whatever your name is, when the Lord calls out your name and He gives you a purpose, when He gives you a task, when He gives you something to do, that is when we will be able to get rid of our filth. Not when we try not to do something. Not when we try to give up lying or whatever we want to get rid of. When we want to do it with our own might and with our own power and with our own struggle, we will not be able to achieve it. But when the Lord gives us a task, we will be so busy fulfilling that task or doing that work that the Lord has called us to do, that we will not have time for the worldly things or the shortcomings or the filth in our lives. We cannot get rid of our own filth. We need the Lord to lead us and to guide us and to give us something to do in our lives, a divine purpose. And as we understand that divine purpose of God in our lives, that is the time that we will be able to get rid of the filth in our lives. Otherwise we will keep struggling with addictions. We will keep struggling with our shortcomings. We will keep struggling with the issues of our life until we come to a place of understanding what the Lord has for me. God is calling us to humble ourselves. God is calling us to get on this journey with the Lord so that we can understand the purpose of the Lord, so that we can get rid of our filth. And the last thing that the Lord is teaching me through the scripture is the Lord saying to Moses, take off your shoes. Take off your shoes. The Lord is teaching me. How are you going to act? How are you going to act? How are you going to behave? That even if I take your protection away, how are you going to act if I am going to take your provision away? How are you going to, what is going to happen in our when I even take your protection away or your provision away? And this is a very, very serious matter for my own life. Because no matter what, we have come to a place with my wife, we have come to a place where we say, if nothing remains in our life, if nothing remains in our life, we still want to be faithful to God. Everybody is going through their own struggles. Everybody is going through their own difficulties. Everybody is going through their own harshness. And when we go through those difficulties and hardships, and we allow those difficulties and hardships to bring us down, to come into a place of depression, or to have a negative thought, or to have a bad feeling, or to have a bad mood, and not relying on the Lord and saying that no matter come what may, I will still remain faithful to the Lord. If I have my provision or not, if I have my job or not, if I have my business or not, and if I have these or those friends or not, whatever, the Lord is going to test us. The Lord is going to allow us to go through difficulties, and the Lord is going to test us. The Lord is going to test us. And we are all going to go through hardships. Life is not what happens to you. Life is how you react when life happens to you. And Arslan just came back from Pakistan after losing his dad, and he's lost both his parents. And I can't imagine because our parents give us a sense of security. And it's going to be a test for him. This is going to be a very testing time for him and his family. And the Lord allowed so many hardships to come into my business, where we had to close down one business and so many difficulties in our other business, and a sense of insecurity. And in the midst of those sense of insecurity, will I be diligent to the Lord? Will I still fulfill His purpose in my life while I am going through my own insecurities, while I'm going through my own hardships, while I'm going through my own difficulties, will I still remain faithful to the purpose that the Lord, if the Lord has called me to serve Him and to share His word and to write books for the Lord, am I going to fulfill that purpose? Or am I going to allow the circumstances of my life to allow me to be deterred from the divine purpose that God has for my life? I have to understand the purpose of God in my life. And when I face circumstances in which of difficulties. The meaning of life is not the absence of difficulties, but it is how we remain faithful to the Lord no matter what. The Lord is calling us. He's saying, I'm going to take away your shoes. I'm going to take away your shoes. Are you going to remain on holy ground? Are you going to remain on holy ground? We were talking to some of the people here. In this country we are facing some difficulties with permits and work permits and residence permits and this and that. These are all things that cause insecurities in our lives. But the question again is, are we going to remain faithful to the Lord when we face difficulties in our business, when we face difficulties in our personal life, when we face difficulties in our relations? And that is the great, so that when we can face those difficulties and remain faithful to the Lord, that is the time that we will be able to achieve greatness in life. So brothers and sisters, my message to you today is, no matter what difficulties we face and what provision and protection is taken away from us, we will remain faithful to the Lord and we will keep fulfilling His purposes in our lives. God bless you.